Nothing in life is an accident. Everything happens for a reason. And I bet you've heard this before, but it's the honest truth. There are zero accidents in your life, okay? So, yeah, a little bit about my background is that my first home where I lived with my parents was actually a real monastery. It was part of a beginnage church. Like, I hope I'm saying this right. So very old church. I was there from, when I was, just born, until I was 3 years old. That's, how long I lived there. And first we lived on the first floor, then we moved to the ground floor. In a ground floor or apartment there was actually the dining room of the monks and the priests. So yeah, um, well, I came to find out later that, you know, the more I delved into spirituality, I just knew that all of that was actually like a divine orchestration, and that didn't happen for no reason. Okay, it was basically like a clue from heaven, right, to show me who I really am, that I am a spiritual person, and yeah, that I am connected to God. So, and my whole life, when I was a child, I was extremely religious, okay? And no one in my family, not my mom, nor my dad, like no one in my family was actually, like Christian, like I was, okay? So I was very devoted to God. I would always pray, like, like, I mean, multiple times a day, many times. Um, and yeah, there was no real like reason for why that was. Okay, no one knew why I was that way. Like, I even told my mom that I wanted to become a nun. Believe it or not, okay, when I was little, I used to tell her that. And I was actually serious about that, okay, because I still remember I do have a photo still of me wearing like clothes, like, as if I were a nun. So it's really funny, but yeah. So obviously I didn't become a nun. But yeah, you see, those things, were all clues that, pointed in the direction of who I really am, okay, at the core of my being. Um, and they all pointed to, who I was in my past life, okay, because children still often, you know, remember more of, who they were in their previous lives, okay. So some still have vivid memories, but many don't, of course. But yeah, you can still see often, in the behavior and the interests of a child, like who they really are, right, what their true passion is, and their personality, okay, how they express themselves. So I've always been very, creative. When I was little, I always wanted to be famous. I always wanted to be one of the most famous people in the world, and I still kind of have that drive to, really, make a name for myself, and, I'm getting there. But yeah, I mean, it's not so much about really becoming famous. For me, it's more about being inspirational. But since I was little, I always had, that passion, with, helping people and making people feel loved and seen, and, really, being out there on stage performing. And I've always done that, in a sense. I used to sing in front of audiences, and so yeah, and I also did go-go dancing. So yeah, I used to dance in nightclubs, festivals, private events, and obviously it's because it's a reflection of the real me, right? Of my personality. But you will see that, yeah, when a child is young, you can see who they're gonna become often, later in life, because a child always expresses its true self, right? It doesn't really have that shame yet, um, or that, you know, insecurity, right? Children are just themselves. Um, so yeah, I mean, everything in life shows you who you really are, right? But when I was small, right, when I was a little child, even those things, they were clues. The fact that I grew up in a monastery, that was also, you know, God basically telling me, like, hey, this is who you are. Okay, and also, me being so religious, even though no one in my family was that way, was also a clue, as to who I really am. And of course, if you're passionate about something and it's something that's really, you know, for your higher good and also for the higher good of others, it is a true sign that this is what you're meant to pursue. Okay? It's saying that this is who you are, and this thing or this, passion is most reflective of your own energy, and it will bring you closer and closer to your true self. Okay, the more you follow what's your heart's desires, you will become more of your true self, because that frequency is in alignment with who you really are. So yeah, this is why I'm telling you that you need to pay attention, that nothing in life is an accident. Okay, but I'm referring to this more, in this video, as to, you know when it comes to revealing who you truly are, those little clues, just like in my life, the fact that I grew up in this monastery, that I was always religious, um, and yeah, your passions, they are just not random either, okay? They are meant to guide you in the direction that you truly need to go in. Okay, and as you grow older, as you move forward on your path, you will discover more passions, things that you're passionate about that you didn't even know of. So yeah, then you need to you know check out what those things are, and maybe you discover something that's truly aligned for you, and you never know where those things will bring you. Okay, so it's always a matter of just following um your inner compass, right? And if something really speaks to you and it feels good, it's not something that harms you or another person, then it is in alignment with God and your true purpose. So yeah, things are in your life for a reason. Okay, if you feel called towards something, you need to really take a look and see what that is, because you never know what, you know, for what reason it was brought to you. Okay, so that's why you need to be curious. See, because you're never called towards something for no reason. Okay, so yeah, if it's something that is of positive quality and energy, then it is your higher self, it is God speaking through you, that you need to pursue this. Okay, and find out it why it speaks to you. Okay, so yeah, remember that your life is not random. Things that happen to you are not random, and whatever you know speaks to you, you need to figure out what it is, and yeah, so you can come closer to God and your true self. Okay, so I love you. I hope this was helpful. If you want one-on-one coaching, check out the link in my bio.